Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Effortless. I am still your host, Piddle. With me, Spiegel. This is part 2 of our amazing, two-part episode. 25.
I'm Spiegel. Hi, hello. How's it going, everybody?
Go away.
Okay.
Time for me to talk now. All right. So,
What a jerk!
In this part of the episode, we are going to be talking about Battlefront first, and then we've got a little bit Rise of the Tomb Raider action,
Blah.
and then our top
Can I just
50.
not even talk about this?
What?
I don't want to talk
The
about.
Battlefront?
I don't want to talk about Star Wars Battlefront. I don't feel like getting worked up. I don't feel like my blood pressure needs to get this high this early in the day.
Oh man, yeah.
Because I have a lot to
getting
say.
there. We are very, very unhappy, and we have opinions, and damn it, they must be heard.
Yes. And do you want me to start on Battlefront? Because I will.
Oh man, that's like, I feel like I just have this gun ready, like cocked and ready, and I'm sort of afraid to fire it.
Well, spin the chamber. We're playing Russian roulette right now.
It is like, yeah, it's like Men in Black, and I've got the little, what is that called?
The flashlight forgetty device.
I don't know. The grasshopper or whatever it's called. It's a tiny gun that just has huge blast. But okay,
I have
Spiegel,
no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
Go watch Men in Black again.
No, I've seen
Spiegel,
Men in Black. It's great, but I don't remember that.
Go for it.
Okay.
Star Wars Battlefront.
So
what has
disclaimer,
you so angry?
Disclaimer, I have not played Star Wars Battlefront. All of my complaints have nothing at all to do with the gameplay or the game itself. I have no problem with the game. It looks great. From what I've heard,
Oh man, it looks amazing.
it's fairly shallow, but it looks great. And, whatever. I have no complaint about the game itself. I mean,
they did this amazing
not
thing
apart
called.
from-
Sorry, they did this amazing thing called photogrammetry or something like that. Photogrammetry, I think it is, where they took a lot of like the original Star Wars props and everything, and they 3D scanned it and then put it into the game. So
Photogrammetry is a big buzzword in the industry right now, so that would make sense.
yeah,
But no, what I'm going to complain about for this game is that it is just so... And remember, I'm a big fan of Splatoon, okay? Upon release, Splatoon came out. There were like 4 maps or something, like 4 or 6 or 8 maps, something like that. It was ridiculous. It was upsetting. I was offended by it. There was just not enough content. But over the months, Nintendo has been releasing like a new weapon every week. They've been doing new maps every month. They have tournaments. They have lots of things to keep the game fresh. All for free.
They just sort of rolled everything out so that you wouldn't get sick of it right away.
Totally free, and it was just the right way to do it. Star Wars Battlefront released. It had 12 maps, 9 modes, and it guaranteed you 2 free DLC maps to come later on down the road. 12 maps doesn't sound like a lot. Not necessarily.
12 maps spread across 9 modes. So you might play your favorite mode, and it might only have like 3 or 4 maps.
Well, yeah, but again, that's not really what I'm going to complain about. My complaint, and I've spent the whole time building this up, so here we go. Here's the big complaint. My big complaint is the thing that I'm about to say right now is that Star Wars Battlefront costs $110 to get the full value of a game that should have cost $60. And why is that, you may ask?
What?
Well, EA has come up with this magical thing called the Season Pass, which essentially requires you to buy something that is $50 that is a downloadable code that gets you all the maps as they come out, even though they are already ready and they should have been packaged with the game at launch. That is my big complaint about this game, is that it's a frickin' ripoff.
And just for the record, the base game, 12 maps, 2 free DLC, but we'll just say 12 maps. The Season Pass is going to give you 16 new maps.
And you
4 new modes. Like, what?
For what it's
Are
worth,
you serious?
For what it's worth, the Season Pass is $50, so it costs basically the same amount as a new game anyway, so it might as well have double the content of a new game, right?
It has more content than the base game, practically.
It's just like what? Like what would, I mean, I know what they were thinking. They're thinking, let's screw people out of their money like we always do, because we're EA and we can do whatever the frick we want, because that's what EA does. But it's just like, I always talk about how offended I get by cash grabs like this, and this is just one of the worst ones I've ever seen. And we could have talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but for some reason, why did we decide to talk about it today?
Don't know.
I don't
and
know
the
either.
other thing is, the other thing is with the season pass is you split your, like with a multiplayer shooter, you split the fan base. Like that's my biggest issue with using maps for downloadable content in multiplayer shooters. And it's something that started with the original Halo 2, but Halo 2, like people were starving for something new because it was the game to play. You weren't playing anything else. It was like if you were playing online on a console in that generation, you were playing Halo 2. And so people just needed something new. And like that's what it was. It was like the downloadable maps in Halo 2 were like, they were like the new release. But when you do something like that with Star Wars Battlefront, it's like, okay, so now you've got like your matchmaking where you've got the people the idiots who just bought the base game, or the bigger idiots who bought the $110 game with the season pass included or whatever.
Especially when the Game of the Year edition is going to come out next year. Although they can't call it Game of the Year because it's not even getting close to being nominated for Game of the Year. So it's going to be the definitive edition or the complete edition or something. It's just like, and then people are going to buy that too. And it's just like, I just don't understand like why people continue to do this and support these companies that are just reaching into their wallet and like taking the money and just slapping them across the face with the money saying, look what I got your money.
The big thing is if you go back to Battlefront and Battlefront 2, like they had the single player campaigns. You could put a ton of time
and Battlefront
into
has no
those.
campaign. What's up with that?
Yeah, Battlefront, no campaign. Just, it's gone. It's purely a multiplayer shooter.
No split screen.
Vehicles don't work the same way as they would in a Battlefield, which I would have expected, wouldn't you? Like just you run up to a vehicle, you hop into it, and if you want a vehicle and there's not one, you just wait for a new vehicle to spawn.
You're getting into the gameplay, which I have no statement on. Again, I haven't played it, so I'm complaining about all the things that I feel that I am allowed to complain about, given the fact that I have not played it. I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to be fair, right?
That you are, and it's enough to complain about because it is ridiculous that for pretty much a real full game you need to pay $110. That's preposterous. I understand that the price of games is going up to develop them. I understand that it's going up. But, I mean, come on, like, make it in the form of downloadable costumes. Let me customize my avatar so that it looks like he has bounty hunter armor or some super cool stormtrooper armor or something. Don't make that something that there's just no words for it. It's a blatant cash
I'll give you
grab.
a word: infuriating. It's just like the worst part is like, you know, being as that part of my job is to make sales for a company. You know, we're not required, but we're implored to ask people to buy the season pass when they pick up a game like Black Ops 3 or Star Wars Battlefront, or and I mean, I feel guilty like saying you should buy this, like with just this fakey little smile on my face, and it's a real dilemma because I like working for my company, and I generally I like their direction that they're taking with their customers. I feel like they're doing a very good job differentiating themselves from other businesses, but it's just little things like this that I feel like, don't people feel like they're getting screwed? Isn't this going to come back to bite us at some point? As an industry, I feel like it's going to come back to bite the industry. What is lack of split screen gaming and lack of campaign going to make the industry look like in 10 years? There's no campaigns in games anymore. They're severely dumbed down. There's no split screen. Like, you can't play with your friend at your house anymore. Nobody's going to ever leave their houses in 10 years if you play video games. So it's like, man, I'm worried. I really am. I'm worried. And maybe it's paranoid and maybe it's just stupid, but I can't help it. I can't help it.
I think it's just a great thing that there are companies out there that are not this deplorable when it comes to releasing content or even releasing a full complete game in the first place. So shout out to Witcher 3. All right, so moving on from Star Wars Battlefront, we got to talk about a game that is inevitably going to probably sell less than Star Wars Battlefront, even though it deserves to sell more, and that is Rise of the Tomb Raider, which from all accounts seems to be a pretty big flop. It only sold like 300,000 units worldwide in its first week on sale. And by comparison, I believe the first Tomb Raider sold over 1 million units in its first week. I think it sold like almost 1.5 million units in its first week on sale. And here's its sequel selling for 300,000.
By no means is 300,000 like a bad number, right? It's just in comparison, and I feel bad for it because as good of a game as it is, or as it might be, based on the review scores, it's just getting swallowed by this like gigantic wave of Battlefront, Fallout, Black Ops 3 hype. And the same thing almost happened to Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It sold pretty well, but not fantastic. I don't feel bad for Assassin's Creed, but I feel bad for Tomb Raider because it's just like, here's this game that might be better than all these other games, and it's just getting,
and it's a sequel to a great game too. So the fact that it sold so poorly, and it's also probably at this point the Xbox One's best looking game.
I also feel like more so than this one game being a flop is that I'm worried this may become a pattern for Microsoft, or at least something that concerns them to the point where they're like, we paid all this money to get this game console exclusive to Xbox and Xbox 360 and Xbox One, and it didn't sell. So what does that say? It worries me that they're not going to try to get these like high-profile exclusives now because they spent all this money. I'm not even sure if the return's going to be worth it. Is it going to hit 1 million by the end of the year? No. Is it going to hit 1 million lifetime? Maybe. But by that point, is it worth it because it's going to be ready to come out on PS4 at that point because it's timed, right?
Yes, it's timed exclusive. Yeah. It actually comes out on PC just this January, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, so there you go. Is it going to even sell 1 million by then? No. Is it going to sell 500,000 by that time? I mean, again, these aren't like minuscule sales or anything, but it's like just in comparison to what maybe they were expecting. I just think it was a big mistake to release it on the same day as Fallout.
Yeah, it was. It was because Fallout just had all the hype surrounding it. I mean, they announced that game and released it in less than a year. So
they developed it in less than a year too, because it's actually just Fallout 3 with some new skins.
Oh,
sick burn!
That is quite the burn. You know what? We should actually talk about some other good games.
Like what?
Just talking about Star Wars Battlefront, and it's making me too depressed. I need to talk about some good games.
We need to talk about some good games.
Yes. So let's move on to our top 50. So we are going to talk about our top 15 to number 6 this week.
So many good games this week. I'm really excited.
I mean, this is like getting to the best of the best for us personally. I mean, Some of you might look at our decisions, especially Spiegel's, and be like,
hey,
what?
These are some great games,
game?
Man.
Actually, I think it's going to be for me because I have some rather interesting choices.
My choices are interesting, but these are universally, I think, considered to be great games. Like, nobody will look at this list and be like, those games are awful. Why are they on this list at all? I don't think that'd be the case here.
All right, so going first, I'm just going to steal your thunder right away.
Yeah, just go first.
Or you can look at it as I'm leaving you to leave off with your number 6.
Oh, you're going to love my number 6.
One up my number 6.
All right, you go. Just go.
So number 15 for me is a game that I recently replayed, Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty, which is such a good game.
PS2, right?
Yep, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, whatever you play it on. I mean, even on the PlayStation 2, it is hard for me to believe still that when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out or was announced or whatever, like people were blown away by the graphics at the time. And that system was running at the time, the best looking PlayStation 2 game, at 60 frames per second. Like games nowadays can't even do that. And this is what it was running on the PlayStation 2, and it was like the best looking game at the time. Even now, looking back at those graphics, I'm like, I can't believe this game came out. Sure, it doesn't have the fancy effects that modern games have, but it still looks amazing. The gameplay is still really solid. The story will blow your mind if you've never played Metal Gear Solid 2. Of course, you have to play the first one first, but I mean, I can't give like very much higher praise for Metal Gear Solid 2 because I don't know, it's almost a perfect game for me in terms of like the story that it's giving you, in terms of the graphics, in terms of the presentation, the amount of depth that is in the game is pretty astonishing. And I don't know, if you have not played a Metal Gear Solid game yet, I don't know what you're waiting on. Go ahead, go back, play Metal Gear Solid, play Metal Gear Solid 2 after that, so that you can know what I'm talking about.
How many Metal Gear Solid games do you have on your top 50? 2? Is it 5 and 2?
Well, I don't have Metal Gear Solid 5 on it yet.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay.
I believe. Or no,
No, you did. It was like in the top 50. It was like the 45 or something. I can't
yeah,
remember.
I did because we started after I had played Metal Gear Solid.
Just to be clear, we'll recap the list when we do our last game. We'll do like a countdown.
So yeah, I have 2 in my top 50, and number 1 would probably be in my top 100 for sure, and number 3. So yeah.
What about Rising Revengeance?
Fun game, but
in your
I don't
top
know.
1,000 maybe.
I actually haven't even finished it yet.
So I'll go
that's a game for my 52 out of 52.
I'll go my number 15 here, which is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door on Nintendo GameCube. The Paper Mario games are just, well, they used to be great. I don't know what happened. Thousand-Year Door was a fantastic GameCube game that I was looking forward to in 2004. It was like my most anticipated game at that time. Then another game came out and just blew me completely away, and we'll talk about that one a little bit later. Next week, in fact. But teaser. But Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door is a fantastic. It's a simple RPG. It's got a lot of heart. It's really just an incredibly enjoyable experience. So many like amazing locations throughout the game that are just incredibly memorable. Like when you go to Glitzville and you have to fight your way up through the ranks as like this like fighter boxing type story, and you discover all the like crazy weird things that are going on in the arena. With shifty promoters and stuff like that. It's a really interesting, fun, amusing, hilarious game to experience, and I highly recommend it to everybody. The one thing is I moved it down from in my list last year, not only because I have a bunch of new games ahead of it, but also because it lost a little bit of its luster for me. There's a lot of fetch quests. I didn't remember so many fetch quests. And did not enjoy those as much. But the game as a whole, if you can get past that, is incredible. Highly recommended.
Yeah, fetch quests are such a difficult situation, I feel like, with games. They can either be good if they're handled the right way or just awful.
Well, I mean, these were clearly artificially lengthening the game. Especially in Chapter 4. You remember when you go into the Twilight Town thing and like Mario loses his identity or whatever, and you have to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to the castle like 3 times. It's agonizing. It's easily the worst part of that game.
Ouch.
Yeah. You've played it, right? You've played that game.
No, I haven't.
What, you haven't? Really?
Nope.
Oh, man. You've got a game right there, man. You got to play Thousand Year Door.
I did buy it for a friend, though, so...
That's not good enough.
Yeah.
You have to play it. Okay, anyway, go ahead.
I know. I should actually get on him about it because he hasn't played it.
Oh, come on.
He played part of it, and yeah, I don't know.
All right, we're taking way too long. We got to do number 14. We
got
9 more games to get through here.
We have all the time in the world, don't we?
No, we thought that in the last episode. We're already like 20 minutes into this one.
So my number 14 is the big hitter for the original Xbox.
Oh, yeah.
Halo Combat Evolved. And man, who knew at the time that this was going to spawn like one of the biggest series and like blockbusters that gaming would ever see? I mean, wow. I first played it,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you remember the hype for Halo 3? It was just insane. Like it
was massive.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they screwed up this series so much that the hype is not. I mean, come on, it should be bigger than Call of Duty. Halo has so much more to offer than Call of Duty. It has
from what I understand,
ton of different weapons.
From what I understand, Halo 5 is Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.
Might be. So what I'll say about Halo Combat Evolved that I really like about it is just that feeling that you are up against impossible odds when you start playing, and like you start playing on the harder and harder difficulties, and you'll get your butt handed to you over and over again. But like you hit that moment where you're just everything's just clicking, you're nailing headshots left and right. It feels like you're just an unstoppable force as a Spartan. And the other things that Halo Combat Evolved did well is, I mean, the developers sort of talked about it a while ago, or a long time ago, I should say, like a decade ago now. And they said that really was about putting together 30 seconds of just absolutely awesome gameplay and having that same 30 seconds loop over and over and over again. And that's essentially what Halo Combat Evolved did. I mean, it gave you a lot of weapons that were really fun. It just, I mean, very rarely, or I should say, not very rarely, but just rare enough, but not too rare, they gave you power weapons, which just made you even more of a tank and just destroying everything in your path. That really added to the gameplay. The different Covenant weapons added to the game. The story in the first one was simple, but it was really interesting in the grand scheme of things. It had all the multiplayer. It had the co-op. The co-op in the original Halo is just awesome. It's great to play through the campaign with a friend.
Hey, so I've got an Xbox One controller. Can we do that? Can we write that on the list of games to play together when I visit?
Yes, we can.
Sounds good.
Because it's a great game to play with a friend. And I think the big thing about Halo that elevates it above other series for me and really puts it in my top 15 is the enemy AI. The artificial intelligence in Halo makes you feel smart. You feel smart when you shoot an elite and his shields go down. So he hides behind a rock and you try to go right and he like continues to hide behind the rock. You try to go left, he hides behind the rock. So you're just like, screw it. You jump over the rock, you take him out like from above. And it just has those kind of moments in it where you feel really satisfied with how you can outsmart the enemy AI and like really take advantage of like the elites trying to take cover or taking out elites so that the grunts scatter. And I think that's what continues to make Halo great. Other games just don't have that type of AI in them.
I'm excited. I'm really excited to play that game. It's one of my more anticipated games in my backlog, and it's going to be agony just waiting for you to, or for me to come visit so we can play it. So I don't know. I might get a head start. But
and I'm not even getting into like the level design. Some of the level design in Halo is fantastic because it just leaves it open for you to decide what to do.
All right. My number 14, I've already talked about when we talked about Fallout 4 last week. I mentioned Fallout 3, and that is my number 14 on Xbox 360. At the time I played it, it was the experience that I needed as a gamer. It like totally changed my perception on what games could be in terms of overall, just an overall design of this just gigantic immersive world that you just wanted to get lost in. I had not had that up till that point. So this is probably my first really immersive RPG that I ever played, and it was very life-changing. That sounds super cheesy, but it was life-changing for me.
A game life-changing?
It literally was. I mean, and unfortunately, as I said last week, I think Fallout 3 no longer holds that same appeal for me, so I don't know where it will be next year. But just remember that point in time when Fallout 3 was one of my favorite games of all time, and for now it is on my list still. I'm going to have to really replay it a little bit more than I did this time to get into it, because it did have a slow start, but
I can see why we would include it, especially if it was one of your first open world experiences.
It's so important to me as a gamer that Fallout experience that I got, because it was one of my first mature games too. Like my parents were hardcore. They wouldn't let me play anything that was rated M until I turned like 16, 17. So it was really one of my first. And it still holds that place in my heart as being one of the first games to really show me what gaming could be when I leave my little Mario world or, whatever. Although that being said, it is one of two games in my top 15 that are not Nintendo games. So my bias is still showing a little bit there. But oh well.
A little biased.
Hey, you can rip me all you guys want. I don't care. You're 13, please.
All right. My number 13 is Super Mario 64. And this is, I believe, the highest Mario game on my list.
Teaser, it's the highest on mine, too.
Yeah, because it's so freaking good. Like, come on. How can you not love Super Mario 64? Again, what it nails, and you'll notice this is a very common theme with my top 15 going forward, is exploration. Exploration is a huge part of every game that I'm going to mention from here on out. And Super Mario 64 nails it in spades just because that castle is awesome. It is awesome. plain and simple.
It is the greatest
magical.
hub world in gaming history.
Yeah, it is.
It has still not been matched.
Nope. And sadly, like, it makes me so sad that 3D Mario games have not even tried. They haven't even attempted to have a hub world like Super Mario 64's. Like, when you're jumping into Boo's mansion and it's just a freaking dollhouse stuck in a Boo, or you like run into a dead end in the basement and it's like, wait a second, I didn't run into that dead end. Like, I just went through a portal. Or
where there's warps everywhere in the within the
warps,
levels.
the hidden door in Peach's room. When you find the red cap, the flying cap, the winged cap, and you, by looking up at the mural on the ceiling of the sun. I mean, this is what Super Mario 64 had. And I think anybody who doesn't rank it really highly has likely forgotten the magic that game had when you first played it. Or they've just been far too spoiled by the enhanced controls offered by more modern Mario titles. Because more modern Mario games, they control a lot better.
No question.
The camera's a lot better.
No question.
There's no question about that. But Mario 64 just, I mean, even beyond the hub world, the option to choose what you did and what stars you collected when you entered levels. You didn't have to collect every star in order like you sort of had to do in Sunshine or Super Mario Galaxy. You could go in any order you want. And that's the thing, is it offered exploration in the castle, it offered exploration in the worlds, and it gave you, I mean, if you want to call it freedom of a choice or even just the illusion of choice, that's what elevates Super Mario 64 to like the highest 3D platformer that I'm going to have on my list.
All right, we have to stop talking about it because otherwise I'm going to be like, I'm done with this episode and I'm just going to start playing Mario 64 while I'm talking to you about this stuff. So we're not going to do that.
It's that good.
But my number 13 is a Mario game, and it's called Mario Kart 8, and it's on Wii U, and it came out last year. It's one of the more modern games in my top, whatever. Mario Kart 8 is, man, like if you want a Mario Kart racing game, like stop here. This is the one. This is an amazing game. It's got, 16 courses. You can double that with DLC, which is like $12. Unbelievable value, by the way, for that DLC. Normally, I would rip I would rip companies who release DLC because I hate it. But
I'm going to throw it out there, but that's going to be one of the first things I do when I get my gamepad, log into the store, finally, because I can finally
Mario
do it
Kart
again.
8, right?
And play Mario Kart 8, or download the extra levels, because I've only played the content on the disc, because I can't access the store.
Right. That's another thing you can't do with a gamepad. You can't buy stuff on the store. But Mario Kart 8 is just, like, I can't even begin, because you know why it's good. All of you people that are listening to the show, I mean, you know Mario Kart 8. I don't need to explain why it's so good. It just is. It's got fantastic music. It's got fantastic courses. It's got tons of characters. Too many Koopalings and babies, though. What the heck? Anyway.
Way too many babies. Baby Rosalina? Like, really? What?
And there's the battle mode is kind of lame, but it's whatever. I never really enjoyed battle mode that much anyway. So it's just, at its heart, it's a pure racing game. It's an amazing experience on Wii U. It is a must-own Wii U game. And it is the best Mario Kart ever made.
Yes.
You're number
Good
12.
Call.
Number 12.
All right. So my number 12 is Streets of Rage 2 for the Sega Genesis.
What the heck is that?
And what?
What is that? I don't know what that is.
You don't even know what Streets of Rage 2 is?
No.
What a shame. Streets of Rage 2, otherwise known as Bare Knuckle in in Europe.
Oh, that's the game.
The
game you kept trying to nominate for Game of the Year of 1992 or whatever on our thing.
Hey, why wouldn't I? It's a great game. Streets of Rage 2, for me, is the pinnacle of side-scrolling brawlers. I don't think there is a game that has matched it since. And I've tried Castle Crashers. I haven't tried Dragon Crown yet, but I don't know. It's just something about it. I'm not sure. But like, I tried Scott Pilgrim versus the World, that game, when it came out. And they just lack the greatness of Streets of Rage 2. I don't know what it is about Streets of Rage 2, but like, the music in Streets of Rage 2 is phenomenal. I don't know how Yuzo Koshiro or Koshiro, whatever his name is, managed to do what he did with the Genesis. Yeah, the Genesis's sound chip, because that sound chip was awful.
Oh yeah.
But the music in Streets of Rage 2 is freaking kick ass. And it goes straight from the beginning, like the beginning theme and intro where, it's like scrolling text and it's showing you like the city all is shrouded in darkness. The tune is absolutely haunting. And then you like start the gameplay. You have 4 different characters to choose from, all play almost completely differently. The enemies you're going to come across in the game are all different. The game actually sort of has a progression from level to level. If you pay really attention, it flows from one level to the next in a pretty clever way.
Is it seamless, or is it just sort of...
There's 8 worlds, the standard 8, but it all sort of builds up. Like when you beat level 6, you see like the Syndicate. I think it's called the Syndicate. You see their hideout in the background, and then like level 7 you're in their factory, and then level 8 you're actually finally in the building. The boss fights are all really enjoyable, and again, like, offer a lot of variety. Even the enemies just offer a lot of variety. The weapons you can use. So, I mean, if you haven't played it yet, find a friend. Definitely find a friend. Play the game with them. Enjoy it. Yeah, sure, there are ways where you can sort of like get around the game design and sort of cheat in order to play it, which you have to do on the hardest difficulty. But
it's part of the fun, though.
Yeah, it's a great game, and again, it is the best side-scrolling brawler that I've ever come across, and it's why it's my number 12. Like I go back to this game every couple of years or so and just play it on the hardest difficulty, trying to get all the way through.
Write it down. We're playing it.
Sorry, what?
I said write it down. We're playing it.
All right, Streets of Rage 2. So go ahead with your number 12.
My number
Spiegel.
12 is another game. Okay, this is a new one. I played this for the first time this year as part of my 52 games in 52 weeks. Can you guess what it is? It's on PlayStation Vita. And it is Persona 4 Golden. This
Really?
game is just, whoa. Like, I did not know what to expect. And what I got was this just incredible experience with these super deep characters. Everybody matters in this game. Like, there's not a single character that you can just like, write off as, he's one-dimensional, or like it's unbelievable. It's a hardcore RPG. If you're not into RPGs, especially JRPGs, you are not going to be into this game. And it is a extremely challenging one too. You have to grind and grind and grind, but it is so enjoyable. It's quite the experience. I
think I really need to try it out.
I recommend it on Vita more than anything else because it has all this additional content, more story content. I didn't want to. It's really sad because at the end of the game you leave because your character is just visiting for the year. So when you leave, you actually get kind of emotional, like thinking, oh man, I'm never going to be able to see these characters again, which is why there's been like 15 spin-offs of this game. Persona 4 Arena, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Persona Q, Shadows of the Labyrinth, where you're like meeting Persona 3 characters. This game will just not die. Persona 5 is coming out next year. That's how addicted to these characters people are. A new Persona 4 game came out this year, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, that continued the story of Persona 4 Golden somehow. So it's just like, that's how in love with these characters people are, and they're right to be. The characters are incredible, and this game is incredible. The end.
Yeah, it's a game that I really need to get around to. It's just, I'm so afraid of getting into another RPG.
Are you prepared to lose 80 hours of your life and not regret a single one? Man, I remember one day I was sick. I put 13 hours into the game in one day. Yeah. I woke up, I started playing it, I took a nap, and then I woke up and I started playing it and I went to sleep. And that was my day.
Man, that's like being in elementary school again when you get the day off because you're sick.
It was unbelievable.
You just play video games all day long.
It was the greatest day of my life.
Playing Persona 4 Golden as an adult.
Yes. All right. Number 11 for you.
My number 11 is The Legend of Zelda.
Wow.
The original one on the Nintendo Entertainment System. I actually think this is the highest ranked NES title, or 8-bit title for that matter, on my list. And I don't know, like, I still love it. When I replayed it, I still enjoyed it so much. There's just something about it that is so pure
It's
and
the
raw.
original
And
open world game, right?
yeah, the original open world game. And again, like I talked about exploration being a part of my top 15, and yeah, I guess Streets of Rage 2 was an outlier to that. But The Legend of Zelda really started it all, didn't it? Like I can't think of anything else that really started open world adventuring the way that that game did. And
Not that I can think of. Maybe Hide Lied, but
I've talked a lot in the past or on the Zelda board and wherever else in the chat about how the original Legend of Zelda is a game best played with the original manual and map in hand. If you can't get your hand on those, and like they're available online, so I don't know, try and print them out just so you have something, because they add so much to the game. They give you the hints, they tell the story of the world. They're what sort of get your imagination going to make those crummy 8-bit graphics into much more.
The Zelda manual
the
Zelda manual is the original Halo novel, right?
Yeah,
Except
it is.
That's a bad joke. Oh well.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think it's like over 50 pages long, and the map that comes with the game too. It gives you just enough hints to sort of push you in the right direction to say. I mean, it's sort of like the the tutorial is sort of like in that map. It's like it shows you like a screen that it's in the game and puts like a little question mark on it. So it's like, hey, like you might want to explore this map or this area of the map a little bit more because you might find something sort of cool here. I mean, that's what The Legend of Zelda was all about. It was about exploring. It was about finding all the secrets and then going into the dungeons. And I actually really liked the labyrinths in the original Legend of Zelda. I sort of wish that something similar would come back in the newer Zelda games. The newer Zelda games are so focused on the items and using items to solve puzzles that they've lost that labyrinthian aspect that the game series originally had. And I think, I don't know, I like mazes like that. I loved having to draw a map of the final level because I couldn't beat it without that map. I mean, sure, now I have it memorized, but for years I didn't. So
shoot, that final dungeon is probably about the same size as the overworld map, right? It's close.
It is huge. Yeah, that final dungeon is very, very big. So yeah, Legend of Zelda, I can't say enough about it. And it is my highest rated Zelda for the record.
Is it really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So my number 11 is going to be Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, another game I played this year at the very start of my 52 games in 52 weeks. Another super hardcore JRPG.
Oh, man.
And although Persona 4 Golden is a different type of game where you go around, it's almost like Animal Crossing. You talk to everybody, you do daily life activities in order to improve your stats. It's kind of weird, but
that's sort of cool.
Xenoblade Chronicles is the game that saved the JRPG. When it came out on Wii, the genre was kind of stuck in this rut, but it just while being familiar, it also freshened up everything with this kind of. It's not an auto battle system, but you can auto battle. It's a real-time strategy. It's kind of hard to explain exactly the battle system, but they did a really good job with it. You fight these gigantic monsters that are all really well designed. One thing I will say is, since I played it on the new 3DS, it is an ugly game. It is not good looking at all. The characters' faces look like they were run over by various sized cars and automobiles. But the game as a whole is like 75, 80 hours. Amazing story with like lots of twists and turns. The characters are all incredible, just like Persona 4 Golden. I adore both games. I could interchange them for how much I love them, and that's why they're right next to each other on my list.
I can't believe that you've put so much time into games like that already.
I put 150 hours into Persona 4 Golden and Xenoblade just this year, and then Xenoblade X comes out in 2 days. Well, it comes out today. If you're listening to the show, it came out today.
No,
so
don't get it.
I'm gonna lose another 80 hours this month.
Wait, it comes out to... Oh, yeah.
When you're listening to the show, it either came... I don't know when I'm going to upload it,
man.
but either Friday or Saturday. It came out today or yesterday, so yeah.
Oh, it's a game I need to play.
Oh
but
yeah.
Actually, I don't even know if I will play it because I might be playing Xenoblade Chronicles X first.
I don't feel like you need to play Chronicles, the original one, first. They're not related at all. It's just the same name.
Yeah.
So I don't think that Chronicles is going to be a step backwards from X. I think the first one will always remain great.
Okay, so
the number 10.
moving on.
We have to hurry, man. We've done like 30 minutes on this, and that was just
Nah, we spent like 20 minutes on it. We're fine.
We need to hurry. I want to do the mobile game thing. I want to make people mad.
Oh man, you know what? I love making people mad.
I know you do.
So here we go. We're in the top 10.
Top 10.
Just think about that.
It gets really good from here.
This is our top 10, the best of the best, according to us. And I think we're pretty darn right most of the time.
I think this is the definitive top 10 list.
So my number 10 is Half-Life 2, which, yeah, definitely for PC.
I just bought it, by the way. I bought the orange box on 360.
Really?
I know you're gonna be like, oh, 360. I like first person shooters on 360. So screw you. I'm gonna play it and I'm gonna love it.
You should have just gotten it on PC. Your PC could probably handle it.
Eh,
It was made in 2003.
I don't know.
But yeah, for being made in 2003, Half-Life 2 still looks amazing. Great art style. And I don't know, it just, the way it presents the story is unlike anything else. The whole game is seamless, other than some loading screens here and there when you're loading up the next part of the level. But like all the scripted cutscenes in the game, it's all occurring in a first-person view. The locations you come across are so memorable, and the story and the way it's presented, I mean, I don't even know how to describe Half-Life 2 anymore because it's so good. So good. Man. We're going to have to delete this.
Take your time.
Because I've never even thought of a game like putting me speechless. What it does well is you can explore all the different areas. You can find all the hidden weapon caches. When you, again, like the memorable areas, you're going to be going into caverns. You're going to be crawling underneath a giant bridge, going into a major factory of the alien threat that's in the game, the Combine. The gravity gun, I think that's the biggest thing that I'm forgetting, is the gravity gun, and the way physics work in this game is so satisfying. Very few games do a lot of physics-based puzzles or physics-based gameplay, and I sort of wish more would, because just because of how much fun the gravity gun was. When you go into Ravenholm, which is, I mean, that part of the game just made my skin crawl. Gave me goosebumps because it was creepy, but the game was so good at that point that I just had to keep going through the game, and I had to keep playing. Now it's not so scary, and it's more fun because I can just use a gravity gun all the way through Ravenholm. But, I mean, if you haven't played any of the Half-Life games, I wouldn't really recommend going back to the first Half-Life, but you have to go back to Half-Life 2. You need to experience the story. You need to experience the awful cliffhanger of Half-Life 2 Episode 2 eventually. And
no wonder people want Half-Life 3 so bad.
Yeah.
I didn't know it ended on a cliffhanger.
Oh, yes. Half-Life 2 Episode 2 ends with the worst cliffhanger possible. And the way that like Portal and Portal 2 started to tie into the Half-Life universe just makes the wait for Half-Life 3 even worse. So, yeah, you owe it to yourself to play Half-Life 2. It is, in my opinion, the best true first-person shooter that we have ever seen. Just period.
I'm not going to disagree. I don't have any more ahead of number 10, so there you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll you've convinced me several times to play this game, which is why I bought it. So I'll do it for sure. I don't know if it's going to be this. I don't know if it's going to be in 2015, but definitely next year, for sure. Number 10.
All right, your number 10
for me. Oh, this okay. I've been
excited.
teasing this the whole frickin' series. Brand new game. Came out this year, May 29th, 2015. It is for Wii U. It is my number one Wii U game. It is my game of the year. It is Splatoon. Now this game is, I mean, if you know me, I adore this game on just so many levels. It's hyper addictive. I can't stop playing it when I start, which is why I haven't played it lately. I don't have 4 hours to sink into a game at a time anymore.
Yeah, you have 52 games to beat.
I know. It's just I had to stop. My wife is addicted to this game. There's new weapons added every week. There's new maps all the time. It's all free. There's tournaments. There's not tournaments, but there's Splatfests. There's just all this stuff to do in the game, and it's hidden underneath this colorful, energetic barrier of just like cuteness and amazing character design.
I still think Nintendo's missing out on a huge toy merchandising.
Oh, they butchered
business with Splatoon.
They absolutely butchered it.
Like the show could have its own TV series,
right?
Cartoon series, right. Whatever.
But Splatoon, I mean, it's obvious why I love it. I mean, if you're listening to this show, you've probably played it, so I don't even know why I'm still talking about it. Let's go on to number 9.
Number 9, for me, oh man, I feel like I'm going to be butchered for this, but I have to do it. Final Fantasy VII is my number 9. And the reason I have to put it so high is, I mean, I played this game for the first time on the PlayStation 3. Like, that is how long it took me to get around to finally playing Final Fantasy VII. And it is so good. Like, I had played part of it, like, when I was younger with a friend at his house. But it took a long time for me to play it myself. And what it offers is, I mean, you can't really get it anywhere else. The pacing of the game is incredible. And the way that I think the battle system is what really elevates it above other RPGs. I mean, the story itself is really good, and a lot of people argue, oh, it's the same as Final Fantasy 3. So, but it's good enough that you're going to be invested in it. You're going to really love the characters in it. All the characters have very unique personalities, and they're endearing personalities. So you'll become attached to the characters. But mostly, it's the battle system that carries this game. And that's because with the materia system, you will, at some point in the game, you just won't go through battles without feeling like you are making significant progress in making your character stronger, more powerful, more badass, more capable.
That's exactly what I love about Xenoblade Chronicles and Persona 4 Golden, is that RPG necessity of feeling like you are becoming better as you go along. That's so important.
And that's exactly what Final Fantasy VII does, because, I mean, you can improve your limit breaks. Your limit breaks get stronger and stronger as you play the game. You unlock new limit breaks. You're just leveling up from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 as you play the game. But then with the materia, because you collect more and more materia, I can't even remember how many slots you get eventually. I think it's you can get up to 16 slots for 4 different party characters when you're later in the game. So
it's a lot of options.
So, like, just think about that. That's like every single battle that you have later in the game, you have like over 60 different things that might be leveling up. Oh, sorry. Is it 16? It's 16 per character. So yeah, you can get like up to 60 different slots that can level up in every single battle. So every battle you're going to be leveling up in materia. So it's like even when you're working towards maxing out the ultimate summons in the game, and because it takes a lot of battles in order to do that, you don't feel like you're making no progress as you do that.
This sounds like the hardcore RPG fan's dream game. That's honestly, and now I want to play it, so thanks.
Yeah, so like, and then the game opens up as you get further into it, and the music is fantastic. I can't say enough about the music. But again, like I said, it comes down to the battle system, and I think it's really underrated. I think people don't really understand what made that battle system so good, and it is the materia system. It is how it rewards you all throughout the game, and the rewards are coming more and more and more, and the rewards are bigger and bigger the deeper you get into the game. So, yep, that's my number 9, Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, luckily for you, I get to rush my next 4 because I've already said everything that needs to be said about
Yeah, I'm
these
gonna
games.
rush the next one.
Number 9 for me is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. This is the highest rated 2D Zelda on my list. It's on Super Nintendo. It's on everything. It's on Wii. It's on Wii U. Just play it, man. It's everything that The Legend of Zelda did well. I feel like A Link to the Past did well and did better. And I feel like on many levels, it's also a better paced game than like Ocarina of Time, even, which is going to be even higher on my list. Just a teaser for you there. I'll talk about that later. But A Link to the Past is so good. It's the original, like, oh my gosh, you have to play this game. Like it's aged so well. It's just this fantastic game. And like you with Half-Life 2, I'm just kind of left speechless when I talk about it because I played it and it was like a blur and it was over and I was like, I can't believe how good that was. So it's just an adventure game, but it's one of the best.
I'm actually surprised that it's so high on your list.
I love that game. It's incredible. I can't wait to play it again. It actually dropped 3 spots this year because I have 3 games that I moved up ahead of it, but it's still incredible.
Yeah, it's a great game. In terms of like pure gameplay design, I think that it has been surpassed by A Link Between Worlds, but I still prefer A Link to the Past over any other.
A Link Between Worlds, by the way, is such a worthy successor to that game. That it's on my list. It's lower. It's like in the 40s, but it's so good. Both games.
Yeah.
I feel like Nintendo almost missed out on an opportunity to like put A Link to the Past on the same cart as A Link Between Worlds, and like that would have been a really good selling point, right? But anyway, we'll move on. All right, you're number 8.
My number 8 is Metroid Prime.
Hell
and
yeah!
I know that eventually you'll talk way more about
way more
than I need to. But I mean, it just, again, exploration. Metroid Prime, it gives it to you. You can scan everything. It tells you the lore. You learn more about the world you're exploring.
Every freaking time I play this game, I find something new. And I've 100%ed it. And I find something new every time.
What?
Yes, 100% scans. I've done it.
Yeah, it's just, I've 100% scanned it too. And it's just, like, I just love that about the game. You learn through the world through exploring yourself. It's not just like, hey, you should read this at some random point or arbitrary point in the game. It's you, as you're exploring each progressive area, you learn more about that area, what happened in that area, and more about what happened that destroyed the Chozo.
It's the same exact thing as BioShock, and it's why I love BioShock so much too. It's got that exploration that like you kind of do yourself. It doesn't
still looks good.
Anywhere. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's amazing how good it looks.
Like, I can't believe how good the game looks. And like, yeah, it's starting to show its age, but like I look at it and I love all the little visual tricks that they did in the game to make it look that much better. Like, they do a little artificial, like, pre-baked shadows for the textures and.
Don't you love when you walk into Magmore Caverns for the first time and it steams up your visor?
Love it. That's one of the great things about that game.
It's so great, the steam.
Yeah.
I love it.
So Metroid Prime, I love it. Your turn.
Oh boy. Okay, so I've said enough about this game too, I think, at some points this year, but Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward is my number 8 on 3DS. It is my, well, technically it's not my highest ranked 3DS game, but it is my highest ranked original 3DS game. So I guess that spoils a little bit there, but it's unlike anything I've ever played, unless you count its prequel, 999. It's a visual novel. It's got escape the room puzzles that are incredibly creative. It tells the story of 9 people that are locked in this like mysterious kind of compound. They have these watches on their wrist, and you have to play a game called The Prisoner's. Well, it's not called The Prisoner's Dilemma, but the game that you played is called it's called a nonary game because you have to get to 9. And the concept behind the game is this Prisoner's Dilemma, which is, forgive me if I butcher this, but I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. You have 2 prisoners who are going to go to jail. And the one prisoner, so the guard like comes in, or the cop, whatever, comes in and talks to the first prisoner. He says, okay, if you squeal on your fellow companion, you will get 1 year in jail and he will get 15. If you don't say anything and he doesn't say anything when we talk to him later, you will both get only 2 years in jail. But if you choose to not say anything and he squeals on you, you'll get 15 years, and he'll only get 1 year. So that scenario is presented to you like 6 or 7 times throughout the game. Do you want to ally with these people that you're trapped with, or do you want to betray them? And there's 26 different endings that you can get. And the best part is you don't have to replay anything to get the entire story. It's fantastic.
That's awesome.
It is just this incredible experience. I fell in love with these characters the same way I did in 999, the same way I did in Persona 4. That's kind of a theme in my top 15 is just like lovable characters. And Zero Escape Virtue's Last Reward has just I'm going to say it, the best story of any game I've ever played. It is the greatest story ever. The end.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah.
All right.
And you have to play 999 first. You can't start with this one. You won't be confused because the recap isn't really necessary, but it's fascinating to see how the games tie together. And I'm not going to spoil anything plot-wise, but you'll see why at the end of Virtue's Last Reward, why 999 was so important.
Oh, here we go. Number 7. And speaking of great characters, that's why I have this game at my number 7. And that game is Mother 3.
Oh, man.
The sequel to Earthbound that never really made it stateside.
This is probably the number 1 game on your list that nobody's played.
Yes, it probably is. And it came out, so I might say a little bit more about it than we really have time for. Sorry, folks. But it really does have great characters. I played the fan translation, and I don't know. It has some moments in the game that really got to me emotionally. There are bittersweet moments with pretty much every major character that you're going to play as in the game. The story is really interesting. It has the quirkiness that you're going to see in that you saw in Earthbound, I should say. Like the Mad Gypsies are absolutely hilarious, and I can't really spoil too much about them. Every character has a backstory that you're going to end up learning about as you play the game. That's the big thing. It's the characters that create the story, and that they have so much depth to them, that they have their own internal motivations, that they have their own sad backstories. Some of those sad stories that occur as you play the game. The way everything ties in together,
and you talked about this when you brought up Undertale in the last show about like how that's the difference between them is that Mother 3 has the heart and the character.
Yes, it has the heart and the character, and it has it with so much of the game. Like I said, almost every character has something to them. There are characters that you're gonna think are unimportant and inconsequential, and they'll show up later in the game, and you'll be like, wait a second, what? The way everything ties together is pretty incredible. And it does all that while introducing like a world that's really interesting to explore, and I should say a battle system that is a lot of fun for a turn-based RPG. Every enemy that you come across has its own sort of music. This game is loaded with music. There are so many different musical tunes in this game that I think it's like over 200 different tunes.
That's good, because that was a problem for me with Earthbound, is that it just got a little too repetitive.
Yeah, there's like over 200 different tunes in this game. And the cool thing about that is when you fight enemies, there's a way. It's a turn-based game. So yeah, you're going to take your turn. The enemy's going to take their turn. But when you do normal attacks in this game, you can produce combos up to 16 hits in a row. And you do that by timing, or like by pressing the A button sort of to the beat of the music that's playing at the time.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's amazing.
So, and it's very difficult because it's sort of, they call it like the heartbeat of those enemies. And it's not always a rhythmic beat. Sometimes it's arrhythmic, and it's sort of like really hard to get those arrhythmic boss battles generally. But sometimes just normal enemies, it's really hard to get those rhythms down. it's just such a simple thing that adds so much to a traditional turn-based battle system, and it really adds to the experience, and helps to get you through the whole game. So, yep, Mother 3, my number 7, and I'll stop there. If you haven't played it, like, I implore you to try to find a way to play it, because it is in my top 10 for a reason. I don't really like Earthbound that much. It's not even in my top 50, but Mother 3 is in my top 10.
Okay, number 7 for me. I mentioned earlier the Paper Mario series is great, and the original Paper Mario for me is just the be-all end-all for it. It is the pinnacle of like simple RPGs that anybody can pick up and play, but it's so much more than that. It's got all these fantastic locations. It's very well paced. I never feel like anything is too hard or too easy at the beginning of the game. Like, it's very well balanced. It's better balanced than Thousand Year Door, honestly. And it's just, you get all these fantastic, memorable partners that travel the world with Mario. It's a big game in scope. It's like over 25 hours probably. There's all, like I said, fantastic locations. Every character has something funny or witty to say. There's like 100 plus star pieces and badges and stuff that you can collect and like customize Mario to have like certain moves in battle. And there's just, you don't play the game the same way twice. Sometimes you like to build a really offensive Mario that just like dominates everything and uses all the flower points that you get. Or sometimes you just like build a powerhouse that you just can sort of withstand anything. And there's all these different ways that you can kind of play this game. Even though it is a simple RPG, it is a very enjoyable one, incredibly memorable, and probably not as good as an RPG as the other RPGs I've talked about in the last hour, but it's as a game, I feel like it's just the most memorable of all of them. I can pick out any location in that game and just say, this is why this part of the game was great. And it's just great all around.
I think one of the things that really makes Paper Mario so good is its simplicity, is it's not too much.
Yeah, it doesn't go nuts on you. It's just like, here's a fun game, and it's just an amazing experience. And
Good choice.
It may be a little high, and I will admit that. And maybe it's my bias a little bit, but I really enjoy Paper Mario. Every time there's never a time when I look at it and I'm like, I don't really want to play that. Like, if I look at Paper Mario, I'm like, oh shoot, I'm popping it in right now.
Oh, so, wow, that much charm to it.
And here's the best part: it's not even the best Nintendo 64 game on my list.
What?
Yeah.
Stay tuned. Gonna have to check out our top 5, right?
No. It's my next one. Go ahead with your number 6 for you.
Okay, my number 6 is, and this, I might receive even more flack for this, because it is, according to some, a lot more linear.
Here we go. This is my favorite.
Metroid Prime 3 Corruption.
Oh, man. Oh, you are going to receive so much flack for that, including from me.
I'm probably going to. I understand. The beginning of the game is poorly handled. And just trying to introduce all the new characters or the other bounty hunters and sort of make it a more cinematic game really sort of detracted from that first part of the game. And normally I would hold that against most games. But for me, what made Metroid Prime 3 so good and why I put it ahead of the original Metroid Prime
is because you're insane.
Is because I'm insane, yes. Is just because, again, I just liked having more civilizations to learn about, and the way it presented or I should say, the way it presented some of the scenes in the game was just so memorable to me. And for example, is when you go to, I'm not sure if I pronounce this right, but Elysia.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And
Skytown.
Skytown, and you come across the Metroids for the first time. That part of the game just sent chills to my bone for like the first time since probably Super Metroid. And that was because like you're going down this you're going through this laboratory. You see all the caged Metroids. You're scanning them. You're like, wait a second, what kind of Metroid is this? This is like screwed up. This Metroid can like phase through stuff. What? And you finally get to like the end, and you have to collect a fuel cell at the end of this path in this laboratory. And you'll like take out that, and you're like, oh crap, I need this fuel cell, but this is the only thing that's keeping these freaking Metroids contained. And so
it's like a horror movie.
Yeah, you take out that
movie.
fuel cell, and all the lights just boom shut down, and you have to make your way back. So it's like experiences like that I really liked.
I forgot all about that. That's great.
I really loved learning about Elysia and how it was the Choso outpost, and just how they created this society of robots on this planet. I thought that was just absolutely incredible. You finally get to visit the pirate homeworld.
And you just wreck everything, and it's great.
Honestly, I don't care if you haven't if you played the game or not, because come on, how old is it now? Really, you should have played it by now.
How did you feel about? I don't want to get too into this, but I really liked the corruption mode that you could go into in the game, where you just felt like you were just dominating everything, but at the risk of your own life. I thought was a really good addition. And this is, I think it's probably the best Wii game. I think it's the highest rated Wii game on my list. Yeah, it is.
The big thing with the other thing that really elevates Metroid Prime 3 Corruption for me, and I feel like I need to mention this, is when you replay it, when you play it on hyper difficulty, it completely changes the game because of how you have to fight the enemies. And that's what really elevates it for me. I'm completely neglecting to mention some of my other favorite parts, but I'll mention those later real quick. But yeah, you can only deal damage when you're in hyper mode, using Phazon. I don't know, it added something more that the other games didn't have, and I feel like that's enough to sort of forgive the horrible introduction to the game. And what a lot of people complain about, you have all these planets and it's more linear than the other Metroid games. And,
it's not linear at all. What are they talking about when they say that?
It's not linear at all. There's still so much to the game. The only difference is, instead of it appearing seamless because you're taking an elevator from the Talon overworld to the
Magmor Caverns.
Yeah, the caverns underneath, the Magmor Caverns. You just you fly your ship from one place to the next. And one of the other things I love about Corruption is I feel like the graphics are just amazing. I feel like they hold up so much better than the original Metroid
I think
Prime.
It was one of the best looking games of last generation, period. Not for Wii, period.
Period. I still think that Metroid Prime 3 Corruption has the best use of bloom lighting in gaming. Period. Of any game I've seen, I think it still has the best use of bloom lighting.
You are making me want to move this game up on my list, because 35 seems too low. Now that I'm thinking about it, you have a way with words that makes me want to move my games up. So where could I move it?
I'll leave it. I'll just leave it off real quick here with the last part that I really liked about the game. That I don't think the original Metroid Prime had these eerie moments quite as often as Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, and that's why I sort of have Corruption ahead of it, is when you enter the GFS Valhalla after it's been destroyed and it's deserted, and
oh yeah, that's a great moment
you
too.
have all the corpses around. The game is just so eerie in so many places that I can't not have it above the original Metroid Prime.
And we, both being terrible people, are fascinated by devastation, right? Do you like looking at the post tsunami footage?
Yeah,
I find it really interesting. It's obviously devastating and sad, but it's just you can't look away. It's great.
So I think I spent way too much time on that.
You did, but the good news is I'm not going to spend any time on this at all, because we already talked about it. My number 6 is Super Mario 64. For all the same reasons that you already mentioned when you did your number 13. Super Mario 64 is the pinnacle of adventure platforming. It's just it's magical, really. It's an incredible experience. Man, I wish I could go back and just do it all over again for the first time playing some of these games, because it's just really something that we take for granted the first time we play a game that we know that we don't know is amazing. Did you know Mario 64 was incredible the first time you picked it up and played it?
Heck no.
Yeah, you just like, oh, it's a Mario game. I like Mario.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, this is the new Mario game.
And every time I play it, I feel like it gets better somehow. Like that, there's very few games like that, but all of the games in my top 10 probably get better every time I play them. So I think that's a common theme here too.
And that's how it needs to be.
Yep. Oh, gaming's just not the same anymore, man. All of my top 5, the most recent game in my top 5, if you don't count remakes, is 2004, 2005. So I've got a little spoiler. I've got 2 remakes in my top 5. I bet you can guess what they are.
Yeah, Corruption, I think, is the most recent game on my list.
No
by
way.
a long shot.
On your entirely, you don't have a Wii U game on your list?
Well, I mean, like I have Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain up there, but like in my top 10, it is the most recent game.
Yeah, so gaming's just not as good anymore, people. Although Splatoon is in my top 10. Xenoblade Chronicles came out in 2011. Persona 4 came out in 2011. Virtue's Last Reward came out in 2013. So there's still good stuff out there. You just haven't played it yet because you're a fool.
Yeah. You're too busy playing your yearly Call of Duties.
I'm talking to you.
Oh. What? Hey,
you're
I'll play
a fool.
I just don't think those games will end up in my top. I don't think they'll end up that high.
I don't know. Not Splatoon probably, but I think I once you play those 2 RPGs, man, I don't know. I think they might be game changers for you. I really do. We'll see. I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Virtue's Last Reward, I think, is just perfect for me. I don't know if anyone else would love it as much as I do, but I do love that game.
Well, I do love some visual novels. I mean, I love the Phoenix Wright games.
Oh, yeah, you'll love it. You'll love it. You got to play it, man. Okay, you're the host. You end it. I don't think we don't have time to do the mobile thing. I don't think.
Yes, we're gonna hold off on the new mobile segment.
Go ahead and tell them what it is. What is your mobile segment?
Oh, so our new mobile segment, and I guess this can be my teaser, is since I love mobile so much, I am going to have a quest to find a free mobile game that has depth, that has exploration, that has great gameplay design, and that I just can't put down.
Unfortunately, we don't live for hundreds of years, so I'm not sure how likely this is going to be.
And in the meantime, we'll talk about
the crappy ones.
The crappy ones that I do play. I'm gonna put about 15 minutes into a mobile game every week. New free mobile game. I mean, there's plenty of them. There's like 20 that come out every hour. So stay tuned. Come back next week, and we'll talk some mobile games. And I'll talk about what makes them good. I'll talk about what makes them bad. I'll talk about what keeps good games from being great, because there's horrible design choices made
and ultimately
while creating them.
The main point of this is just to make everybody in the ZBN angry, because Piddle's the only person who doesn't like mobile gaming around here. So it's going to be fun.
I mean, hey, like a game that is in the Game Awards nominated to be like one of the best mobile or handheld games of the year, Fallout Shelters. I played that, loved it for a little bit, but I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5, I think.
I still can't believe you even counted that for 52, but whatever.
Well, hey, I put enough time into it.
I guess.
It's just, again, like, in this quest, I'm going to be searching for a game that has actual depth, that isn't just sort of like a shallow gambling type of experience, which is what you normally see in your mobile games.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be a little unfair, though, because, like, I am looking for free games. So it might be a long, long, long road. But you never know.
What if Miitomo is, like, the greatest thing ever? I'm serious.
That's a joke,
what
right?
if it's amazing? What if it's like, wow, I can't believe that we've been wasting our time with all this other mobile crap and we could have been playing Miitomo.
You know, that'll be the day.
All right, we need to go.
All right. So for Dr. Spiegel, I'm Dr. Piddle. Thanks for listening to us, hopefully twice this week.
I think, shoot, they're probably checked out. I'm already checked out.
Yeah. Come back next week. We are going to start counting down our top 5 games. How can you not be excited for that? I mean, I know I have some great games in my top 5, some which you've probably never played before or even heard of.
My top 5 is awful, and you're going to hate it.
And Spiegel will give you a top 5 of Nintendo games almost exclusively. Maybe
there
even
is no
exclusively.
almost
I don't know.
exclusively. It is almost exclusively.
It is exclusively. So Spiegel is not only giving you his top 5, he's giving you his top 5 Nintendo games. So come back next week, start listening to us talk about those. We won't give it all away at once, but a little bit here and there, a trickle. And like, comment,
I will
subscribe.
reveal the first 3 letters at the beginning of the show, and I'll do the rest of them at the end of the show.
Like, comment, subscribe. Tell us what you think of our top 10s. Tell me that I am stupid for putting Metroid Prime 3 Corruption ahead of Metroid Prime.
You are.
Tell Spiegel that he is stupid for putting Paper Mario ahead of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door.
I am.
I don't care. Come back. Talk to you guys next week.
Bye.